Hello again.
Hello. Well, we just had a very upbeat session about the sad plight of the Native Americans and our relationship with them. But we'll go on to one that's a little bit more uplifting, and that's going to be death. Now, Eric, hi again. I want to know about the physics of death. You know, the scientist in me, I have to know what exactly happens at the moment of death or during the process of death, as far as the separation of the soul from the body.
He says, first of all, he goes, "Oh, mom," and then he blew you a kiss. He's like, "Mwah." It's like
Aw,
kissing the screen.
kissy
Um,
back.
okay, so he says that he wants to. So your question was, what happens to the body at the time of death?
I mean,
He
how does
wants
that
to
mechanism work, in other words?
he wants to explain it in reverse because it for some reason he thinks it might make more sense,
Okay.
and then he'll get to that. So, okay, he says, well, everything starts as energy first and then takes form, he says. So it starts as energy first and then takes form. So if you think about that and understand that, um, then when you look at death, Mom, when you look at physical death and what happens, when the energy leaves, the form dies, okay? The
Okay.
body is deceased. So he says, Mom, oh, this is pretty neat. He's showing like your vibration has an awareness, has a consciousness. That vibration makes up who you are, what you look like, the way you express yourself, and so on.
Mm.
So when that vibration, when your energy, your soul separates from your body, what he's literally showing is like your soul stops talking to your body clear down to the cellular level. Um,
Where in the
he says,
cellular level? In the microtubules, I think you said once, or those little tubes that help with cell division and also help maintain the integrity of the cell? Is it in those tubules, or have you found out new information that's different?
I don't know what difference it makes. He says through the tubules.
Okay.
Um, but he says for some people, of course, we know this is a slow process. Some people it's an immediate process.
Mm.
This is interesting. I've never heard him say anything like this before. He says that's why you have people when they pass quickly and very unexpectedly. That's why they take a longer time here to recover, so to speak, or shed their humanness, their human
Oh.
thoughts, their human.
Hmm.
He says, and then when people pass slowly, when they slowly start to deteriorate, it doesn't take them as long, Mom, to
Why is that?
understand. He says
Is
because they be at the energetic level. He says the energy, their vibration, like slowly stops talking to the physical body.
and are they in the
Um,
other realm more? And it's sort of getting oriented already even before they're completely separated from their body? Is
he
that why?
says right.
Okay.
He says, right. And then he says, that's why you see, whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, cancer, all these ways that people pass and they pass in a slow way, their vibration is slowly shifting back to the spiritual self. So you start to see different parts of the body shut down and work slower or become defective or whatever because that communication, Mom, is not happening anymore. And he keeps showing like a little cell. He says clear down to the cellular level. So he's talking about two different organs, different areas of your body, Mom, needs certain frequencies to sustain life.
Hmm.
And as one slowly transitions, that's why you see, maybe multiple organ failure.
Yeah.
Or
The
he
kidneys
says,
give out, or yeah. Right.
right, and he's talking a lot about this. He says because there's a certain frequency that anything has to reside in to be for healing to occur. So
Hmm.
when you're outside of that wavelength, so to speak, that's when death begins to occur at the cellular level.
Okay.
Um, and then he's showing, he is kind of giggly about this and uh, delighted. He has this like real upbeat energy. He says that's why you see people like with Alzheimer's or dementia start to communicate with nobody that's in front of them.
Yeah.
He says when they seem like they're talking to, just thin air, he says they're really already, transitioning to the other side with their consciousness.
Wow.
And it's just the body is slowly detaching.
Okay, let's talk
Um,
about what happens in the microtubules. Is there a disconnection from physical atoms, or is there a buildup of energy between the body's energy and the spirit's energy? I mean, what? Oops, mute my phone. Um,
he's there's no transfer of information. Like he's showing me he has showed me this image one time before, and you said what it was, and I don't know what it is. Um, okay. He's okay, first of all, with words, and then I'll tell you the image he's showing me. With words, he's saying that there's no transmitters, there's no transmitting of information,
okay.
there's no communication happening. So there, it depends, Mom. He says it depends on what's happening with the body, what illness they go through. Because I asked him, I said, well, is there a buildup of energy, and then it sort of releases or causes damage or destruction?
Mm-hmm.
He says it just depends on the illness. But
Well, in the
um,
typical general death case, just your average death. I mean, what is common to all deaths on a physics level in the cell, in the microtubule? What do all deaths have in common? How about that?
he makes me feel like no electrical transmitting, no communication,
Okay.
like between the vibration of who you are and the physical of who you
Okay.
are. So at the cellular level, and he's showing me like the is it the synapses? Is that what it's called?
Uh huh.
It looks like a circle with a bunch of lines coming off of it,
Okay. Yeah.
where I think because he's showing me like this electric, it's like a lightning bolt, like electricity
Mm-hmm.
begins to stop, and that communication in everybody um, weakens, it fades, and it's like the like he's showing these links sort of separate. They don't communicate. They don't transmit information from one cell to the next, or
Okay.
from the vibration to the
To
body,
this
the cell.
body. Yeah. Okay. So,
He's literally, this is interesting. He's showing like all through the body. He's referring to the physical body
mm-hmm.
through like electricity, and he's showing like he's literally showing different organs like lights out. I start to see like these lights
Okay.
going out. So it's like energy or electricity actually is what he's showing, begins to separate, disperse.
Okay. So once there's
Um,
that electrical block, the vibrational view just sort of floats off of the each little individual cell, just kind of disconnects.
yeah, he says yes, Mom, and he's actually showing. He says it's pretty dangerous when. Oh, oh my God, you know that song like oh my gosh, don't make me sing.
Uh
Like
oh. We can have a sing along.
the like the arm bones connected to
Oh
the
yeah, hip bones,
you know
the leg bones connected to
yeah,
the hip bone. Yeah.
yeah, so he's singing that, and he's showing like he said it's really, it becomes really dangerous if electricity flowing at some part or within some part of the body stops or is disrupted. Everything's connected, and it affects the flow of energy of electricity on the physical part, on the physical level. Um, they're all connected, so one affects the other, and when one is out of rhythm or the electrical current is disrupted, others are affected. So he's showing it being, once one is disrupted, it's very, like for example, your heart. If you have like AFib, he says
Mm-hmm.
that current on an electrical standpoint affects the other organs. So it's very dangerous, he says, when one frequency is out, when one vibration is out, the others are at risk. The others are compromised too.
Are we talking about
So
you know how we have meridians of energy that are, or I guess electricity, whatever, flowing through our bodies and the chakras, that whole, you know, I've seen a chart where you have these meridians of energy lines. Is that what you're talking about? And then how they interact with the chakras?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He doesn't resonate with that. He shakes his head no.
Okay.
I think he's talking about um, the body, the physical body producing electricity, producing
Oh,
energy.
okay.
Um, and when one organ is out, when one area is off, let's say you have liver disease, the vibration then is compromised. He says at a scientific level, each organ will put off its own vibration, its own, you know, it can be measured in hertz or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when one's compromised, the others are at risk. He says, Mom, it's no different than if I'm in a shit mood and I'm in a really low place and I come and stand next to you, you're going to feel that low
Oh, sure.
vibration.
Oh, I've felt it before, many a time. Well, is there anything
So,
that's tethering? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, like, what he's showing it, like, overall. So, when we're watching a physical death happen, he's showing that electricity, that energy begin to quiet out. It's like lights out begin to
Okay.
happen all over the body. The more the soul separates, the more obviously everything changes, and he starts to show. Um, he's showing so much. He's showing the brain. He's showing the blood flow, the body temperature. Nothing is regulated.
It
The
reminds me of
awareness is.
it reminds me of the Waltons, where it's "Good night, John Boy. Good night." The light goes off. Good night, Marianne. The light goes off. That's death in just a nutshell. Well, is there
That's what he's.
anything? Where's this electricity that the body makes? Where is it made? That the actual physical cell creates?
He's.
And the cytoplasm, the nucleus, all of it.
When you said nucleus, he resonates more with that.
Okay.
And then this is interesting though, because he keeps going back and forth between talking about like um the okay, like the chakras, the meridians, like you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
but then nothing to do with that, and just the physical body and what it produces itself,
Okay.
while soul is, you know, inside,
Mm-hmm.
and body is still alive. And so what he's showing is, he says, well, you have to acknowledge they go hand in hand.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, how sweet. He says, Mom, you know how you've heard of people that do die of a broken heart?
Mm.
He says, this is going back to what you were talking about, the through the energy flowing through the meridians. So he's taking all the energy to the heart space, and he says, if the heart is affected on a spiritual level and is ill on a spiritual level, it manifests on a physical level. And then all sorts of things can happen and manifest. So
Yeah,
you
I thought
have,
I was gonna die of a broken heart after you died, Eric. I'll tell you that. So I know how that feels.
he says, no matter how you die, you have to acknowledge the spiritual self first. He shows that. Man, he's getting really deep. I don't know if we have time for all this, but he's showing like the higher self knowing
Mm-hmm.
when the time is coming. You know, we may not always be conscious of that. Sometimes we are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when that begins to happen, Mom, when we begin to disconnect, because I asked him, I said, well, um, if if a problem starts on a spiritual level and then it manifests physically, um, he's showing that in reverse, as far as like the death process.
Mm-hmm.
So um, he says when one begins to pass away and die, um, we're going back to our spiritual self, and letting go of what we carry on the physical level.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is where he's showing the connection to the higher self. May not always be aware of what the higher self knows and carries consciously, but he says, as we transition through our physical death and to our, like, back to our highest self, um, he says, oh, okay, very simple concept. Mind, body, and spirit all have to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
When they're not, one dies, one
Okay.
stops working, one becomes ill. So, my, oh, this is so fascinating. He's talking a lot. He's going into like Alzheimer's and dementia and how, when mind, body, and spirit aren't on the same page, illnesses like these
Sure.
and diseases like this
Oh, that's a whole
manifest.
nother topic unto itself. Maybe we should talk about someday about the mind, body, spirit being on the same page. I'm going to write that down. But
Yeah,
okay,
because
well, let me just so that we can close this, because we could go on for, we could do several parts of this.
yeah,
What is the body? What is the spirit? How is it connected? Are there little energetic tethers or something to the cells? I mean, how is it connected in life? That, and then those disconnect obviously at death.
he says, he's giving me these words. He says, neutrons, nucleus. He says,
Oh,
microtubule. Oh, I don't know if
tubules,
I can pronounce this.
microtubules, yeah.
And like a powerhouse. What's
Oh,
mitochondria?
mitochondria, yeah, yeah.
Mito,
Mi-
mito.
mitochondria, yeah.
They all have to talk. That's what he says. Like,
Oh,
he gave me
so
these
the
words. He says,
so
like,
the nucleus. Wait, the nucleus of atoms or the nucleus of the cell?
no, no, the nucleus of the cell. He's
Oh,
showing.
okay, okay.
And he's showing like, and then what's the, he keeps saying like, he's showing me this like little ball of energy. It's like a fireball. He says
Oh,
they all have to talk. He's calling it like mitochondria,
uh huh.
myco,
Mito,
I
yeah.
don't know, microtubules. This is a mouthful, but I don't know what they do. But he says they all have to talk. They all have to talk, and he's showing like one feeding the other, having like one being a power source of energy and feeding the other. Like if we're going all the way down, Mom, to the cellular level and how the cells talk, how the cells communicate. Um, because again, if we are at the cellular level, just like as a people in the world, he says we can't exist just by our own self. We
Sure.
all have to communicate to really sustain life.
So is it like,
So
there's this energy web that is encompassing the nucleus of mitochondria and the inside of the microtubules, and that's what the tether point is?
he says yes, but we give it life. Like we obviously bring in
Oh yeah,
consciousness and
yeah,
awareness at that level.
yeah. Because I've seen a lot of
So
dead people. I don't want to say a lot because that doesn't sound like I'm a very good doctor, but I have seen dead people, and they just look different than when they were alive, like wax figures. They're the spark. There's that spark that's gone. One more quick thing, and just if you could just make this in 2 minutes: spontaneous human combustion. You've described that before as like energy building up to, they have, it's the hard, the spirit or body have a hard time disconnecting from one another, and then poof. Can you go into that just real briefly? Just I'll give you 2 minutes.
he says, I said, what is combustion, spontaneous combustion? He says, it's basically when the human body cannot encompass or embody the high vibration. He makes me feel like at the soul level, the soul coming into the body, um, the vibration getting so high, too much energy to where literally it bursts. He says this is
Yeah,
actually pretty rare,
yeah.
but
Thankfully,
he says the human body is when a soul reaches a high vibration and the human body can no longer like encompass that or embody that.
yeah.
Um, he, oh God.
Uh,
He goes, you want to talk about a fucking panic attack? Because he's talking about like a human. But I said, can you talk about, what's it like to, feel this way, or
oh
what do they
God.
experience before the combustion?
Oh,
And he said, well, as your vibration goes up and up and up, and you embody too much energy, there's no ground anywhere, and you hold it all in, so to speak. It, when our vibration gets high, it feels like an anxiety attack.
mm.
But then it keeps going to a point where the physical body can't contain that much
And
energy.
it just
He's,
incinerates.
he's
Yeah,
showing,
saves on cremation
he's,
costs.
that's true. He's showing like a lightning bolt coming in.
Okay.
It's just like Mom. He says it's just like people getting struck by lightning. The physical body cannot encompass and um,
Okay.
coexist with that kind of
So,
energy. It's
all
too
right. So,
much.
so what I'm seeing it is based also on what you've described in the past is that little ball of energy, that fireball you were talking about, the mitochondria inside of the microtubules and the nucleus, just gets bigger and bigger and just poof, it gets too much for the cell, and then of course all the cells.
He says that's right, but on the cellular level, when there's that much energy, there's no constructive communication, like from one cell to the next within the cells. There's
Okay.
no productive, not constructive. There's no productive communication.
Mm.
So he's like, Mom, it's like being at a party with the music blaring and trying to talk to your friend and you can't hear each other,
Oh,
but you're
okay. Right.
screaming.
Yeah. All
Like,
right.
there's so much
And and
energy. He's
and you've told me, and we'll close on this. You've also told me that sometimes this happens to people who have a hard time letting go of things, and maybe they can't let go of the spiritual body. They may be people like hoarders, for example, can't let go of stuff. It's just to verify
emotional.
that's, yeah. All
Yes,
right.
that's emotional orders. Yep.
Okay, sounds great. Eric, I love you. Kim, thank you so much. And we will be right back with our next topic. Very short one.
This is
Bye. That was fascinating.